Good evening, all. Good evening, Dr. Vidya. And this is Dr. Shankaran. I welcome all of you on behalf of IDP of Tanvas. This is the fourth lecture of the series of lectures on COVID awareness for awareness lecture on COVID-19. And today we have with us Dr. Vidya Hari, who is going to talk about how to get rid of the psychological stress during COVID-19. To just briefly introduce Dr. Vidya Hari, her qualification is BDS Bachelor of Dental Surgery in the year 1995. She has also got a PG Diploma in Medico-Legal Systems 2003, Postgraduate Diploma in Hospital and Healthcare Management, Postgraduate Diploma in Geriatric Care, Diplomate in Implant Dentistry from the American Academy of Implant Dentistry, Diplomate in Neuromuscular Orthodontics and Nathology, MSc in Psychotherapy and Counseling, MPhil in Counseling, Fellowship in Laser Dentistry, Diplomate in Dental Photography, Diplomate in Dental Photography from University of Birmingham, Certificate Program and Strategic Digital Marketing. Dr. Vidya Hari runs a clinic named Smile Dental Clinic, and she is the director of the Smile Dental Clinic, consultant, dental surgeon and implantologist, laser, gold, cosmetic and aesthetic consultant. She is also a consultant for biomedical dental waste management, inspirational speaker, psychotherapist and counselor. She is also a businesswoman, entrepreneur, life and leadership coach, and she was the past president of the Indian Dental Association Madras branch. An absolute positive woman with a go-getting attitude who wins millions of hearts with a radiant smile. And she has been working for the past 12 years in the following categories like women empowerment, cancer awareness in women, community mental health for all, Get In, Get Fit series, Pamper Yourself series, Inspiring Young Mind series, Crossing Boundaries series. So she has been giving a lot of such kind of talks, and she is here today to talk to our students and faculty on the topic relieving psychological stress during COVID-19. Welcome, Dr. Vidya.
So thank you so much, Dr. Shankaran and IDP Tanvas and Sir. Thank you so much for your kind invitation. And thank you for all those kind words you had to say. So I'll be starting my session with the series, and I'm sure today, I guess, we have a lot of unanswered questions, which I hopefully would like to give you some solutions to that. So good evening, friends, and thank you once again to IDP of Tanvas, Dr. Shankaran, who's been my friend for over 14 years, and Sir, for giving me this opportunity to speak on a topic which is very close to my heart. This topic is called relieving psychological stress, especially during the COVID-19 crisis. So, as Dr. Shankaran has said, I've been in this field, trying to help people ease their stress for the last around 13 years, and I could say that the last 15 months has been really rewarding for whatever educational background I had, and for personally helping out people, because I guess what I had done in the last maybe 13 years, I did 10 times more in the last 13 months. So you can understand the kind of the level at which the psychological stress has risen in the population. And thank you so much for the kind invitation. I love this invitation, and it looks so beautiful. And I think Shankaran designed it in 2 minutes, I guess, last night, and along with his team. So thank you, Institutional Development and Plan of Tanvas, and this is so special for making a brochure like this and sending it across. So thank you so much. I'm sure all of us from the morning have heard this buzzword, right? International Day of Yoga, which is the 21st of June. And I'm super excited because how to really plan the day and the topic for the day also. I'm sure we had this session last month and it got postponed for whatever reason. But today I felt when I was even preparing for the session, I was so excited because see, God has a plan, and the way He does it it is always a master plan. So, when you just leave it to God, He has a beautiful way of putting things. And what a way to celebrate International Day of Yoga. You think, why am I saying all this? It's because today is the 7th edition of the International Day of Yoga. And this year's theme is Yoga for the Well-Being. And it is very relevant for our times in this society, who's still recovering from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So see, the topic, the day, and everything has just fit in so perfectly well. And I'm sure this is God's plan of helping students and I guess everybody around the world cope up with what we are all going through. So let's understand the relevance of this topic and why this topic, right? So if you can understand, we had COVID-19 and outbreak happened. There were some government rules and regulations which were put forth. Lockdown happened. There was economical depression. There was physical distancing and quarantine. All these which we have never, really understood before. And who are we? We are the population, right? On the other end, there were related updates and knowledge, and media was covering it length and breadth of whatever was going on. And there was infodemic, and all these informations were coming into the population. So when the sudden information came onto the population, you had psychosocial impact. And that psychosocial impact, if you look at it, with the COVID-19 disease also, some became patients, some became relatives and caregivers, and all together handling all of this were the healthcare professionals. And all of us are healthcare professionals. So, all of us got into this kind of a maze which happened suddenly for the last 15 months. Now, what are the dilemmas of the healthcare workers? So when we call ourselves doctors, what are the dilemma we have faced? If you look at it, there was allocation of resources, there was balancing of the physical and the mental health needs of the workers themselves, there was aligning the patient's needs with family. Because see, in any other situation, the family members used to play a kind of a vital role in handling at least the psychological aspect of the patients. They used to be allowed to come and see the patients, and there was some kind of a patient to the caregiver interaction. They were allowed to stay with them, and visitors were allowed to come. So that feeling of getting well soon was always there. And then there are those people who were severely unwell patients, and all of this, suddenly the decision making factors totally turned around the tables. Now, what are the impact on the number of patients? So if you were clinicians, if you were practicing, I'm sure even if you're in the veterinary science, you would have your own set of patients who are animals. But nevertheless, if you look at it, the doctors themselves, according to this Venn diagram, it said 55% said they're treating fewer patients than before the pandemic. And I'm sure all of you would also agree to that. Not many people are coming to your hospital right now. So you're seeing very few patients. 30% said they are seeing the same number of patients as before. This is because we're talking about individual practitioners. And 15% said they are treating more than they were seeing before. And if you look at the kind of doctors who were handling people and their age group, so you had early, mid-age and late in terms of the career span. You could say this denominations were just up or down by 5 to 10%. That's all. All the whole, this was the thing. Next is, either are we treating the patients in person or over the phone call or telemedicine as they call it right now. So they found out that most of them, if you see, yes, I'm seeing it in person was the answer, but most of them said, I'm only treating them remotely. So that is another very big game changer. And along with that, if you look at the first wave which happened, then the second wave, and now we are slowly entering into the third wave, which is going to be almost that span of the first and the second wave put together. So this is going to be the major massive wave, and more people have to understand that we need to really follow all the protocols and things like that, and then it goes into the fourth wave, which is the peak. Okay, and they are predicted it's somewhere going to be up till mid-October or more than that, right? So let's see what has this COVID-19 or the pandemic done to all of us. So the early lockdown studies, they found out that up to 37% showed signs of psychological distress. Up to 45% of the adults felt adverse effects on their mental health, and up to 70% felt this period was the most stressful period of their careers. So you can see that altogether, if you look at it, it has not been very nice on the mental health. And if we understand the three waves so far, the first wave was impacting on the health. So there were people who were contracting COVID-19, there was social or physical distancing, and then the isolation or the lockdown which happened. Then the second wave. In the second wave, it was the impact of the financial well-being. So there was loss of income, wages and investments were broken, redundancy happened, bankruptcy happened. You saw many companies closed down, some who were even 50 years and above closed down, and meeting financial obligations became very stressful. So the economical meltdown happened during the second wave. And third wave is the wave of the psychological. So now you understand where our topic gets into. So the psychological or the third wave, this is going to impact the emotional well-being and the mental well-being of people. So how do you think all this is going to be with the health going down, with the economics going down? Obviously, there is a negative attitude, there is domestic violence, there is stress, sleep deprivation or insomnia, very low energy and motivation, substance abuse like alcohol and smoking is going high, anxiety is high, low self-confidence, will I make it? There is a lot of depression, withdrawal from normal activities, suicidal tendencies, and poor problem solving and decision making. So these were the effects which we are going to face or handle in the third wave. So of course, we have understood we are on a long road to recovery. So this long road is because of the psychological support which is necessary for many during and after the COVID treatment. So now from the doctors, we are moving on to the patients. So you can see most common symptoms among patients after discharge is sleeplessness, fear and anxiety, because people are saying they're having other symptoms. So this is the fear. Next is psychiatrists find that many are affected by bereavement and isolation. So there's a loss in the family, or they have been continuously, secluded or isolated, and all this has caused a lot of mental agony. Symptoms also get aggravated amongst those with pre-existing psychological issues. So imagine if a person was already having fear psychosis, this is going to just get worsened, right? And a small percentage of people have started displaying neurophysiological symptoms like confusion, worry, and sleeplessness. So if it was not there before, they have started getting, and it is not only in their mind, it has also started affecting their body. Next. Pandemic causes a spike in the anxiety and depression. So let's just look at the early curve as in January to June of 2019, and then almost a year later, say May, somewhere around 2020, you look at it and you can see the symptoms of anxiety disorder has almost gone about 3 times. The symptoms of depressive disorder has again become 4 times, and symptoms of anxiety or depressive disorder has gone up 3 times. So now you can see that we are just not saying there is statistics which is proven that the depression is happening, and we have a lot of things to take care on. Let's look at mental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. So what is mental health? We have understood we have to have early management or early diagnosis. Along with that, we might need to have rehabilitation processes. Then you have these mental health care professionals who are looking at people who are the most vulnerable. So who are the most vulnerable? They are children, they are pregnant women, handicapped people, and the elderly people. So these are the most vulnerable population. Next, one side we have gone into telemedicine in terms of treatment. So even the psychological part, the mental health part also, they have started doing mental health consultations. However, there is a lot of research and training going on side by side. So the whole cycle, if you look at it, you have the mental health, you need to have access, affordability as in money, you should accept and you should reorganize. So this acceptance part, I think, is still not very high. Yeah, I don't know if I can say just in India, but worldwide. But today, if somebody is saying I'm not feeling well, or I'm upset, or I'm depressed, the red alarm is really high. The antennas really go up. Now, when you look at the coronavirus disease, you have the stressor, that is the virus itself, the pandemic itself. That's the cause, right? And then you have the stress mediators, the awareness which is coming, the coping styles, the social support, and each of our personality traits, how to handle such a situation. Then you have the stress response. So you have the stress, and how do I respond to it? I can respond psychologically, behavioral, or physiological response. And this, the way I respond to it, is how it's going to either give me better health or it's going to push me to a disease. So today, my aim of this lecture would be to give you all a kind of a coping mechanism which will give you good health, so that you don't go into a disease. Because all of us, whether we know it or not, we are facing this crisis together because we are the population. So all of us are inside the population, and we need to understand for sure that we are progressing towards the health. Next. Now let's look at children. So how do children survive and thrive? We need to understand that the wave 3 is more on children and mental health. So I just put this slide to help you understand, because you might have small children at home, or your relatives' children, something like that, right? Because we are all a part of a community. So you look at it, the basic distilled factors are all the information we are getting, and it could be anything from politics to economics to climate to ideology, anything. And then you have the enabling environment, and that is going to be us, that is the families, communities, services, and policies. And then you have the safe and nutritious food, the responsive care, the health care, the learning opportunities, and the safety and security. And all together, it is how we're going to have the outcome. That is, how are the children going to survive or thrive? So the psychosocial demands is there, and then the resistance and the vulnerability factors. So in the psychosocial demands, we have the life events, the chronic stressors, and the daily hassles. I'm sure all of us, now we have come to terms with the virus, and we understand, okay, we need to do certain things, and we are trying to cope up with that, right? And on the other hand, you look at the resistance, the vulnerability factors, you have the coping responses, each of our personality traits, and the social support. And both together, you have the psychobiological stress response. And that is further classified into neuroendocrinal, wherein you have the hormones inside your body working. You have the autonomic and metabolic, which is the different types of systems which you have in your body, and the immune. And all of us now, we understand about the immunity. So the cells responsible for the immunity of a person. Now we come to the second part, as in why all this is stressing us, because all of us have lived our life, and we have gone through certain ups and downs in life. So has that really caused so much of stress as to stop our world or not go forward? The answer is yes here, because the stress system You have the psychological stressors and the physical stressors, and both together, if you look at it, it goes into the hypothalamus, the pituitary adrenal axis, and also the sympathetic adrenomedullary axis, and those together cause mediators, and these specific mediators hit the body or the brain. When it hits the body, it affects the energy metabolism, the metabolic changes, the immune system activation, digestion gets suppressed, and reproduction gets shut down. On the brain, if you look at it, you have genomic and the non-genomic activity, and this gives you altered cellular machinery and cellular excitability or neuronal plasticity or synaptic plasticity, all together giving you some physiological and the behavioral changes, and the adaptation to the entire system becomes a problem. So when I tell you about the coping mechanisms, I will be touching on the coping mechanism in relation to this, whether it is body or the mind, right? So that is why this is very important. Now, as I told you, the stress, it could have the neuroendocrinal pathway, which is the, the cortisol one, wherein you will start, just imagine, we are all sitting in front of a laptop through the day. Most of the times you would have heard people saying that they have put on weight. Why is that? And what is central obesity means in the stomach part. We are sitting through the day. And all of us, few years, we knew that sitting is the newer heart attack, right? So now more of sitting is happening. So that is also not very good. And then you have increased levels of lipids, that is the triglyceride level is increasing. Now you have direct effect on the B cells, that is the immunity getting bad, and then triggers hepatic gluconeogenesis. So diabetes also is getting higher. Now, inflammatory process, effects of the insulin sensitivity. Now, diabetes, if I have to start talking about it, I can go on for an hour, because people who did not have diabetes, if they have got affected by COVID, the diabetic levels have actually become worse, and now they have become diabetic. As it is India, we know we are the world capital for diabetes, and diabetes is also a comorbidity. So if you already have a comorbidity, then you're going to fight it. If you don't have a comorbidity, because of the drugs given, that you're going to fight it. And the down regulation of the insulin stimulated glucose transport and the lipid uptake, and all this is making the immune system also getting affected, and the autonomic process, your hypertension, increased central obesity, and possible direct effect on the insulin sensitivity. So you understand that this has hit the comorbidity factors. If you look at diabetes, you look at hypertension, you look at the lung function and obesity. So whether you had it before, right now, because of the stress, people are getting into these four. So the comorbidity free, and because of this, is also getting on a rise. So we have understood that the stress, it is not only one-sided stress. It could be work-related stress, financial-related stress, or personal-related stress. So all these are the stressful factors, and our personality. How resilient are you? How are you able to cope up? And this can lead to emotional distress. So the mental stress or the worries, if you're a perfectionist and you're not able to do that properly, all that leads to the psychological. Then you have the cellular. So in your body, you have the stress hormones, the vasospasms, the vascular dysregulation, the brain processing problems, the toxic influences and inflammation, all this biological, and that is also leading to eye and vision loss, which is ophthalmological. So in a person, it is all hitting all the areas. So we talked about the systemic conditions. Now we are coming to the other peripheral things also. So what is psychological stress? If I have to stress on that, it means basically that we are generating certain precursors, which is getting into our mind, which could be personal or unique to each person. And this is called the psychological stress. And it could include anything from worrying, be very anxiety levels are being high, feeling very depressed, or things like that. So the major sources could be, frustration. See, they're not able to do anything better. So, they're feeling a little bit of agitation or frustration within. Then conflicts. conflicts even between your own minds. Forget conflict between others. So intrapersonal conflicts, that's what I should say. So you're thinking, one side the demon in you says, oh, you're not making it and all, and one side the angel says, no, keep going, try till you succeed. So this conflict going on. Then you have the internal pressure. So you have certain expectations out of your life. I'm sure all of us have that, correct? If we say we don't, we are all lying to each other. And this internal pressure and our own beliefs and expectations from ourselves has caused a lot of issues because we are not able to cope up with the expectations. And then you have a social pressure. So people in our surroundings are otherwise asking, oh, what are you doing? How are you doing? And they are putting excessive pressure and load on you. And this is like trying to push you so much that you are getting into a burnout, or you have a personality clash happening. So all this is also working out. So if you now look at it, psychological stress has the physiological factors, the behavioral factors. And if you look at the behavioral factors, as I told you earlier, people are resorting to the other cheap pleasures like, alcoholism or smoking or physical inactivity, or what is going to happen? Let me sleep anyway. This is what I need to do. Things like that. And altered dietary pattern. You don't sleep properly, you don't eat properly, you overeat, you're eating at wrong times. So it's a cycle again. So those are your behavioral factors. In your epigenetic regulation, it again gets into the physiological factors. You have the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. I told you there is dysregulation. There is hyperactivation of the sympathetic nervous system, transient chronic inflammation. Your prolactins are high, your gonadal hormones are less, your leptins are increasing, and your parathormones are increasing. And this could also lead to bone loss. So the psychological stress, if you look at it a little more, you have the HPA axis and the sympathetic nervous system axis. This is hitting the nerve fibers and the cortisol, and it gives to a cytokines gush, and that causes inflammation and causes barrier disruption. So the cytokine rush is something again which people have been talking about in the articles. And all this, if you look at it, is giving rise to something called the oxidative stress. So you're stressed, there is a lot of free radicals getting released in your body, and this free radicals is actually causing a lot of internal damage within you. So whatever coping mechanisms which I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give you some solutions so that the free radical damage and the feel good factor would make you feel nice. And when you have this psychological stress for a persistent, which means from the acute phase, now it's going into a chronic phase. Now, when it goes into the chronic phase, you can see that, as I told you, people who are not having any hypertension or diabetic, now they are getting into that phase because of this oxidative stress, the stress hormones getting released, and all that together, you see there is a cascade of biochemical reactions within your body, all leading to hypertension because of this persistent psychological stress. So, stress, we understood. And here we have to deal 4 parameters. One is body, how that relates to stress. Next is mind. Next is behavior. And last is the emotion. So I'm not saying it is 1, 2, 3, 4. All of them work hand in hand. Just for the way of saying it, I'm just telling you in that order. Now let's go to the body. So because of stress, you might have headaches or migraine, pain, sleep disorders, any chronic illness, disability, soreness of your body, taut or stiff muscles, fatigue, you're feeling tired, there is weakness, there is skin conditions, and there is digestive issues. I'm sure most of you heard that because of COVID, there is a lot of loose stools or diarrhea happening also, right? So it's because of the body, whatever, mechanisms. Next is the mind. In the mind, you're constantly worrying, nightmares, what will happen next, indecision, negativity, muddled thinking, no clarity of thoughts, impaired judgment, forgetfulness, panic, and distress. And if you look at the behavior quotient, as I told you before, you're becoming, loss of appetite, desire is lost, drug and alcohol abuse, lashing it out on others, the verbal abuse, violence, clumsiness, self-harm, insomnia, hoarding, or alienation. Alienation means just pushing ourselves away from the scenario. And emotions. So emotions, we have loss of confidence, irritability, depression, hopelessness, loneliness, apprehension, anger, and apathy. So what is health? If you have to define health, it is just not, being normal in terms of physical sense or any systemic condition. It means that you must have a unison or a holistic way of life. So when you look at the biological factors of health, you have the physical health, the disability of movements, any genetic vulnerabilities or any exposure. And of course that you can have some drug effects or temperament. In the physiological part, if you look at it, you have beliefs, attitudes, self-esteem, coping skills, and social skills. And this could further, if you look at it, have an effect on your family relationships or trauma. And the social pressure or social being, we have all been distanced for quite some time now. So the peers, the family, the circumstances, and the work pressure. And all of this, if you only have a balance, where you can call it that you're having good health. So now we understand the stress cycle, we understand the muscles are taut or contraction has happened, there is neurological activity which is increased, circulation of the body or the blood is decreased. I told you why we are sitting through the day. Cortisol's levels have increased because of the stress level. There is a lot of toxins produced or the free radical produced. Then you have pain, weakened immune system, and the health issues also develop. So you can see now it's become a kind of a cycle. So how do we work on this? So if you look at it, when your performance is weak and your motivation is also weak, nothing is working out. You're losing interest and attention in a lot of things. But actually you need to have both of them at a level where you can give your best performance. So all of us, you, me, every one of us, we need to perform in terms of our daily activities. So if you want your performance to be optimal, you should have that kind of interest and attention given to the job you're doing. And suppose if this trigger is very high, you will have impaired performance. You might not do good, you might in fact do bad, but that is also not going to work out. So this is the Yerkes-Dodson law, which talks about the optimal stress. See, stress is not a bad word. You have something called the good stress and the bad stress. So good amount of stress will actually push you to do good job, or push you to do work better. Now if you look at any sports person, they have stress, they have to break a record or something like that, and they use this stress in the good way so that they can handle it better. So when you look at that stress, the good stress, or what we call the eustress, I think I mentioned it when I had come to Tanua's before. So the good stress is also called the eustress. So the eustress will actually make you feel energized, give you good focus, and make you challenged in life. Then what is bad stress? That means you're distressed, you're not happy. That will go into burnout, exhaustion, and fatigue. Otherwise, you will be like a monk. You'll be calm, bored, and just left to yourself. Now we want stress, but we want good amount of or optimal amount of stress so that we can actually have the best performance coming out. So keeping each other safe and connected is everyone's responsibility. So definitely keep in touch with your parents, visit them in case you can, or at least talk to them, call them. And this is what World Health Organization has said, together how we can beat the COVID-19. Now, this is the last slide of this section. So you can understand when you are stimulated and unstimulated or understimulated, what happens. When you are understimulated, you have a negative emotional state wherein there is apathy, boredom, contented with whatever you're doing, or relaxed. Or if you're stimulated and you're ugly stressed, that is the, as I told you, distress, you're anxious and overwhelmed. So your brain is out of order, you feel like vomiting, you can't breathe, you have a heartbeat which is pumping very high, your body is aching, and you feel exhausted. You don't feel like studying. I'm sure most of you are students here, so you'll understand. You just don't feel like doing anything, right? Now let's look at if it is a positive emotion, then that is good stress. So you are passionate about whatever you're doing, you're determined to do it well, and you're motivated enough. So you feel healthy, you take better decisions, your brain is in the proper zone, your heart rate is normal, you're calm, you're at ease, very confident, and you have the right kind of energy to do your work. So what are the coping strategies during COVID-19? Here are a few. I'm sure all of us got into the online learning courses, and I'm one among them, I guess. So we have the Zoom platform or any other platform which is giving us a kind of a freedom to sit at home and still listen to lectures or even give lectures for that matter. We have indoor games, we have relaxation exercises, yoga and meditation, aerobic exercise, prayer, creative activities, positive thinking, installation of hope, reading, and music. I think I have dealt with few of these already in the previous sessions. So now I'm going to give you 20 basic coping strategies which all of you can follow if you note down these 20 very simple ones. But I'm sure all of us can get into the mode of practicing it. And once we start practicing the same stress which we are handling, we will be able to handle that better. 1. 2, we will work towards progressive, focused way of doing better in life too. Because we cannot guarantee when this is going to get over, but all of us can guarantee that we will be able to handle this better. So let's first get into relaxation breathing. Now, if you're all sitting down, then probably I will teach you also what can this relaxation breathing be. So see, when I'm talking, actually I'm breathing, correct? It's very obvious that all of us are breathing. But am I consciously breathing, or it is just an involuntary action? It's an involuntary action. So when I breathe, I can actually breathe 3 ways, right? So when I'm going to have a relaxed breathing, what I need to do is I can lie down on my back and fold my legs like the way it is shown in the picture. I can nicely inhale, and when I inhale, I can see my stomach actually expand. And then when I exhale, I can see my stomach going down. So this is the way of relaxation breath. The other breaths to expand your lung is to hold with both your hands, just hold on your chest and then breathe in and breathe out. When you do this, your chest will get expanded and you will be able to take in more of oxygen inside your lungs and then push it into all the areas, so your lung capacity actually increases. Another one is on the clavicle. You could hold your hand on the clavicle and go up and down, thereby again increasing your lung capacity. But the relaxation breath is when you lie down comfortably and you're inhaling and exhaling. As you take in air, you will see your stomach floating, and this is called the diaphragmal breathing also, if you want to speak about it. So what are the benefits of deep breathing? It detoxifies the body. Now we spoke about all the toxic things or the free radicals getting into your body. This is going to detoxify. So it's a nice healthy way of detoxifying. Next is you can improve your immunity. I'm sure today immunity has become the buzzword. Most Googled word means it's immunity. So if you want to improve your immunity, you can just do this simple exercise. Support correct posture. When you're sitting, please sit in comfortable position that you have a back stretched and straight. And this will also improve digestion. I told you the midline or central obesity is happening. This will improve your digestion. It also lowers your blood pressure. So now you understood why I was talking a lot about the cascade of events, because you need to understand all these coping strategies are aimed at giving relief to whatever was spoken before. And this also increases your energy. You feel charged, your battery is charged. It relieves pain and it also decreases stress. So I think with just a relaxation breath, which I felt is the so simplest of everything, you can just lie down and deep breathe and then you're good to go. Next is obviously walking or running. Now I'm sure most of us are not able to go out of our house. Nevertheless, 30 minutes of walking even within your household compound can alleviate depression and fatigue. It increases attention and decision making. It halves the risks of Alzheimer's. It improves your blood pressure by the 5 points. It reduces lower back pain because of the whole constant day sitting. It limits your colon cancer risk by 40%. It improves fitness. It keeps weight in check. I spoke about obesity, so we needed to do that. It strengthens your legs, quads, hips and hamstring. It works on your arms and shoulder muscles. It lowers the risk of heart attack, limits chronic diseases. So if you look at it, it is a 360-degree approach. Next is benefit of running. If you can run, great. Then this will strengthen your muscle. It will strengthen your lungs. Your weight will be under control. Strong immune system, reduced risk of heart disease, improved blood pressure, and improved brain function. So whatever was the physiological or the behavioral factors all get nullified by walking and running. Next, what we could do is something called the progressive muscle relaxation. So for this, you can have somebody to, give you a guided meditation, or like how I did it in the previous sections, you can do that. So here you actually lie in a pose called Shavasana. Shavasana means a corpse pose, wherein you just lie on the bed or on the floor with your arms facing upwards, your legs a little apart, and just you have a normal breathing. And then either you give a command, or you can have even muscle relaxation on the YouTube. You can just put it and they would give you some command. Basically, it will be to progressively relax your muscle from your feet upwards till your head. So you would say right feet, ankle, thigh, leg, left feet, ankle, thigh, leg, buttocks, back, front, stomach, chest, mouth, eyes, forehead, neck, shoulders, and the arms, and totally on the top. So right from the leg to the head, you would relax. And what does this do? It relaxes all the major muscle groups. It can relax all your smooth muscles, causes relaxation of the GI tract and the cardiovascular system, has been very effective in treating migraine and tension headaches. It can help relieve your backaches. It can alleviate conditions caused by bracing or ineffective muscular contraction. Next is mindful meditation. See, we understand meditation, but what is mindful meditation? Meditation means just sit and then, just let your body relax. But how many of us can relax when we just say that? Not possible, right? So, mindful means thinking about the present. So research has shown that mindfulness helps us to reduce the anxiety and depression. So if I can talk a little more about mindfulness, see, many people are thinking about the past and worrying right now, or thinking about the future, how it would be, and then getting worried right now. So there's always a saying, right? Yesterday was before, tomorrow is going to be another day, but today is a present or a gift, enjoy it. So something like that. And mindfulness also teaches us how to respond to stress with awareness of what is happening in the present moment. That's what I told you, in the present, rather than just simply acting, instinctively and unaware of what emotions or motives may be driving that decision. So you're aware of what you're doing, you're very clear of your emotions and motives, and that's how it's going to be. Let go of the battle. Breathe quietly and let it be. Let your body relax and your heart will soften. This is what Jack Comfield said. Next is change your environment. Now, this could be, this environment, the word could mean the external environment or your internal environment, as in your brain. So let's first understand the external environment. I'm sure we all understood that, the environment is not asking us to conserve her for her, but, for our future generations. So that's so true. I mean, why are we planting trees? Because tomorrow our children will have better oxygen to breathe. Why are we talking about saving the ecosystem today? It is because we want our future generations to enjoy it the way we enjoy it. So if we are not going to follow or having an ecosystem balance, then there is going to be some kind of, calamity, which we have all gone through. Every 5 years, I think we are going through something major. So that is why we need to actually understand and change the environment externally. Now, how about our internal environment? When you look at the internal environment, now you can calm yourself By just calming yourself, what happens is your clarity becomes of thoughts becomes nice, your words are better, and then you can really make a difference from within outside. So it's always inside out that you need to change. Next is you follow your heart. Now, this is a beautiful book written and illustrated by Andrew Matthews. For people who don't like reading books, I will say pick up this book, because this book will lighten your heart, and it will ease the way you even think, because the words are really big in nature, and it's Andrew Matthews beautifully illustrates it. So you would feel it like you're reading a comic or something like that, but it has so much of inner meaning, and that is why you can see it's over 2 million copies have been sold, and it's published in over 42 languages, obviously, which means it has something in it, right? And have a personal copy. I own a copy of this book, and that is something which I don't lend books. I feel that's a very personal possession of yours, and read as many books as possible. So what does follow your heart basically says? It says do what you feel like, and you take your brain along with it, as said by Alfred Adler. So imagine like you want to sleep right now, go sleep. You want to eat, go eat. Follow what your heart is saying, because that is what is very important. You want to listen to music, listen. Because if I'm going to say don't listen, then what would you do? You would still do probably the work I say, but you will not do it properly. You do it only half-heartedly. For that, if I let you do what you want, you can come back whenever you want and do the work which we are saying, right? So by doing what you love, you inspire and awaken the hearts of others. That's a very, very, very important. Spending time with family and friends. I think this lockdown has brought that bonding time also. And this is a beautiful saying which says, spend time with those you love. Because one of these days you will either say, I wish I had spent, or I'm glad I did it. So either you will repent or you will be glad. So I would say be glad about it, right? So those small little things will definitely work out. Next is laugh. Laugh as much as possible. What are the benefits of laughter? Your mental benefits are it releases endorphins, which are linked to positive mood. It reduces stress, anxiety, and depression, and it improves your life satisfaction. In the physical front, it increases the natural killer cell activities, the cells with the innate immunity system known for fighting infection or detecting any cancer. Provides similar cardiovascular benefits of exercise, improves learning and creative thinking, and increases pain tolerance. And the social benefits are it strengthens relationships, attracts others to us, enhances the kind of teamwork you expect, helps diffuse conflict, and promotes the group bonding. Next is to have a nice warm bath. Now, what are the temperature of your water? How does it relate to your body? Let's see. If it is cold water, it stimulates your immune system, it increases your alertness, it prevents cold, it stimulates the antidepressant hormones, it accelerates your metabolism, frees up the mind, tightens the skin, reduces the hair loss. So when you take a bath with cold water, these are the advantages. Now, when you take a hot water bath, it actually relaxes your muscles, it lowers your body tension, it elevates your migraine, reduces swelling, reduces anxiety, acts as a nasal decongestion, and removes the toxins from the skin and opens up pores and cleans the skin. So these are the advantages of warm water. So when you generally have bath and come out, you feel very light and very nice about yourself. So this again becomes an advantage. Next is lighting a candle. So when you light a candle, there is a kind of candle yoga or candle meditation which originates from Hatha Yoga, and this is also called the Trataka, and it serves as one of the 6 techniques used for mind purification. And there is a research which says that from the bees you get this wax, and they take the light and the wax to make it, and when you melt it again, you're giving back that light to the place where you got it from. So it's from the universe, you took the light, you're giving it back. And you have perfumed candle scents. So cinnamon, it improves memory, boosts alertness. Peppermint, it is easy to breathe, boosts alertness and memory. And citrus ones energize and uplift you. Cypress, it picks you up, and then reflection and deep thought and concentration. Eucalyptus oil, I'm sure most of us would have, at least from Tamil Nadu, if you would have smelt this oil. It enhances concentration, manages allergies and fatigues, and helps you breathe better. And that is why you see a lot of eucalyptus trees in the hill stations, because it helps you get better oxygen levels. Jasmine, it calms, it boosts optimism and inspires confidence. Rosemary, it relieves the headaches, enhances clarity of thoughts, and improves memory. And lavender, if you look at it, it relieves your headaches, reduces stress, and calms your insecurities. Next is supplements. Now, we understand there is a lot of free radical damage, and you need some antioxidants to neutralize that. And then you need, food supplements, which can give you vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, which could deliver in form of pills, tablets, capsules, or liquid. And these food supplements are intended to correct the nutritional deficiencies, maintain an adequate intake of certain nutrients, or to support specific physiological functions. They are not medicinal products and are, as such, cannot exert a pharmacological, immunological, or a metabolic action. And what are the benefits? It gives you an enhanced immune system, it gives you an enhanced antioxidant defense system, decreases risk of heart disease, decreases risk of stroke, decreases the risk of cancer, decreases the risk of arthritis, muscular degeneration, and cataracts, potential to decrease the risk of Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinsonism, and the potential for improving the clinical course of several chronic degenerative disease. Next is, they say caffeine. Many a times you would have heard it at home also. People say don't drink coffee in the night, it will keep you alert, it will not, let you de-stress. So here are the few benefits of reducing caffeine consumption. It can help you ease anxiety and panic, reduces even the menstrual cramps in women and the pain associated with it. It can support estrogen detox. It causes reduction in the PMS, or the premenstrual syndrome symptoms. It supports the blood sugar balance. It may reduce headaches over time and helps to naturally regulate your energy levels. So less of coffee is actually very good for health. Next is pen down your thoughts. So whatever is running in your mind, good, bad, whatever it is, maintain a diary and write it down. And there's this thing that says writing or spelling down your thoughts. It's a great way to express what you cannot speak. It is a way by which you discover who you are and how you can improve. And passion is converted into words by writing. So when you write, there is a lot of things which is actually telling yourself and reassuring yourself. Next is creative talent, and this could be right from writing down poems or poetry. You could, just have some childlike freedom to draw, color, and paint. And it's a very good stress buster. It absolutely builds in confidence, and it also encourages the hobby part of you, because maybe you had these hobbies before and you said you didn't have time to work on it, and it also gives you a clarity of thought, and the thinking and the creative thinking and problem solving becomes very good. And this is very, very, very important, because you have a way of expressing yourself. Next is the biofeedback. This is like when you are connected with a monitor and you have a central box, you have the skin conductor service sensors, and these are placed on your body parts, and then you're led to monitor. So the heart rate, the blood pressure sensors, all of them monitor, and here you see that the breathing sensor is also there. So the computer which is regulating all this will give you a kind of an audio visual feedback. It also helps in transfer of measured values and measurement of the selected physiological performance. So whatever you're picking up with the software, it really helps you. Next is obviously counseling. When you're very confused in your mind and you have certain things to pour off, sitting with a counselor will definitely help you unwind yourself, and you can talk about your health and well-being. You can talk about your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors. And one of the benefits, it is able to set boundaries about what level to which you can counsel, as increased assertiveness, better relationships, less anxiety, stress levels, and tsunami kind of mindset which happens. So you have a less of anxiety, and then you have a stress relief. The trauma resolution, as I told you, there is a lot of thoughts in your mind. So when you talk to somebody and when they are listening to you, they are trying to help you out, sometimes even by just telling them that, you will feel that you've got a solution to it, even without them giving you any suggestions. So there is a lot of trauma which is getting resolution done, and then you have better confidence and you're regaining your emotional balance. So all this happens when you are ready to share it, and it is not necessary that you need to first itself go into a professional counseling. You can use probably your mother, your father, who are very close to you. You can probably talk to your siblings who are very close to you, maybe a good friend. They can also be counselors in terms of just listening to you, just lending them their ear to you. You will start feeling that very lighter. Many a times you will have people telling you, talking to you made me feel very nice, and probably you're my sunshine, or things like that, because you bring in kind of a positivity into their brain. Next is rhythmic activity. Now, rhythmic activity means it is like the difference between noise and difference between music. So noise cannot be reproduced, but music can. So anything to do with music is a rhythmic activity. It could be dance steps, it could be music, sound, beat, anything. So this will give you some kind of an internal harmony and helps you actually connect well. So I have been doing a lot of activities, and I did an activity called Rhythm of Life for the children, and we call it the Midak Fest, which I did it for the Indian Dental Association. So I'm going to show you a small video of it. I'm sure you would have understood that, many a times people generally ask me, they say that, how can I exercise? This is a question which many people ask me. How can I exercise? I'll say, why? They say, no, I was, at least before I was not stuck to my laptop. Now with this laptop, how do you expect me to exercise? So then I tell you, friends, there are lots of eye exercise, sitting chair exercises there. So it just depends on how you want to take it. So that is why I was teaching children how to do rhythmic exercises, as in, sitting and doing chair exercises, doing some exercises for your back, and dancing with them and helping them understand and helping them cope with what is very necessary in life. So this is something which I personally feel is very important, and we need to actually understand and gauge this better. See, I have also felt a very important thing. See, many a times people will not do what you say. but they will do what you do, and that is very important. So more than being a preacher, if you actually lead by example, that is a very important thing. So I feel I lead by example, I follow these things, and that is why people believe me more, and probably when we say it makes a difference. Next is listening to any soothing music. Now this I'm sure all of you will agree. Whenever you want to go to bed, or whenever you're sad, or when you're very happy, you tune into some songs which you like. Right now everything is YouTube. Nevertheless, you would just get into the YouTube and put those songs which you like, and then you feel that you're feeling a lot more relaxed. Your breathing is becoming better. There is lowering of your heart rate, there's lowering of your blood pressure, and then you have a quiet nervous system. There is ease of the muscle tension. You have reduced your stress and anxiety. The trigger to release sleep-friendly hormones are there, melatonin, and this includes also serotonin and oxytocin. You feel that dose. You remember I spoke to you all about dose, DOSC. I said the dopamine. O stands for oxytocin, S stands for serotonin, and E stands for endorphin. So those feel-good hormones come, and then you reduce the sleep. It tries to shift yourself, and you feel very comfortable with yourself. So these are the unbelievable health benefits of music. It also strengthens your heartbeat, it stimulates your brain cells, it makes you feel happy, it enhances your running performance, and it improves your sleep quality. So that is why whenever you listen to some nice music, you really feel happy about yourself, and that is very important. Next is guided imaginary. Now, guided imaginary, you can do it in any which way. Many of us take some old albums whenever we have such free time, and then we look into all those family trips which we had, right? So what exactly happens is you go down the memory lane, you see those pictures, and suddenly you remember what all you did that time, like the food you ate, or the kind of, in case you're thinking about a hill station, you're thinking about how it was there, and then you think about, there's some adventure sports or some new thing which you did there, and then probably some musical night you went there, and then whatever before the guided imaginary, when you saw, this now gives you a very relaxed and a peaceful and a happy feeling. Now this, you can also do it through closing your eyes. When somebody else is giving you a kind of an instruction to guide you, and you are taken into a kind of a meditation. So in this, what happens is you close your eyes, and then you are made to think about some space, and that gives you a kind of a relief, and that is very important. So how do I look at this? If I look at this, remember I did a kind of a session with the same Tanva's team, and I took you to a 3-minute meditation where I told you we're going to the waterfall, and I said the chillness of the air, the chillness of the water, and you just did not feel like coming out of that place. So all that is a part of guided imaginary, and that is a stress management technique, which I have already done. I spent an entire session of 1 hour with you on guided imaginary. Last but not the least is definitely to pray. I mean, there is Father's Day which just went yesterday, but who is our Heavenly Father? It's the God Himself, right? So we can just pray, and this is a small prayer. I think all of us can pray this, and see whether you're a follower of whatever religion. All religion speaks the same language. So it is like, saying, Dear God, dispel my fear, end my anxiety, wipe my worries away from my mind. Make the one I care about find good health and complete recovery. Make known the healing power of your hands. Give comfort and shelter beneath your wings. Grant a restorative sleep tonight and safe passage to tomorrow. Amen. It's so beautiful to show your gratitude to God for what you had today, and just wholeheartedly submit yourself to a higher authority. I think I don't know how to explain this to people who don't believe in supernatural or God, But people who believe in God, I think prayers have miracles in them, and all of us can pray so that the whole world can be healed at this point. And this is also a time to think. Don't let the noise of the world keep you from hearing the voice of God. That's very important, because there's so much of turbulence outside, so much of turbulence inside, and we need to strike a balance. And for this, if I could say, just imagine a tortoise. See, a tortoise, when it is harmed, what does it do? It pulls that head and neck inside. I'm sure I'm talking to the veterinarian, so you know it better. And it tries to get into that hard, thick skull of his. So, see, that is the way we need to do. So, when we are troubled outside, so much of turbulence, we need to go within and hear the voice of God. That is very important. Next is a time to act. So we can serve God in whatever way He directs us to. So this is short story which I would like to say. So here is a man. He is buying all the groceries, and he's trying to go to the car. And at that point, he sees this one small child, totally in rugged clothes, and looking at him, he knows, probably he wants some money. So this man is actually, not in a mood for that. See, when I say not in a mood, some of us also belong to that category. See, there are days when, you see a beggar and you just want to take and give. You don't want to ask any questions. There are some days when you see them, they might even come asking, and then you're not bothered. You're like, you are in your own space at that time. So this man that day was in his own space. He was not thinking about helping this person. But nevertheless, when he had that glimpse of him, there was some kind of a divinity on that face. So what he did was, he goes up to the car, keeps all this grocery bag there, closes his car, and then just comes back. And as he comes back, he realizes that, he wanted to sit and talk to this child. So he goes up to the child and says, how are you? And then the child says, I'm fine. So now he's thinking, this man is thinking, like, this child is going to ask me for money any moment. And he is still thinking and contemplating on that. But the child, there is a kind of a silence, and there is no conversation between the child and the man. And after some time, the man asks the child, do you want anything at that time, or do you want help or something like that? And that time the child says, don't we all need help? At that time, there is this prick in this man's conscience. And immediately he takes out his purse, and whatever money he has, gives it to the child, much more than he would have given otherwise. And so that the child can, probably have a bath, get some clothes, eat food, and probably just be happy than what he is. So now you look at yourself. This was a story which really hit me. I said each of us can actually give in whatever way we want. We don't have to let the whole world know that we are giving. Of course, that is a choice which we can do. You can give people money, you can give people food, you can give people clothes. Right now, we are doing a toy drive where we are collecting some toys from our children who have outgrown those toys, or books they have outgrown. We are going and giving it to orphanages, because there are so many children who have got orphaned in this COVID-19. Now, it is not necessary that only money or physical way. You can do it in whatever way which your heart's calling is. And that is the time to act right now. And of course, a time to pray, because as we keep showing our gratitude to the Almighty, as we keep praising the Almighty, more grace, more blessings would come our way. So these are the health benefits of meditation and prayer. It lowers your blood pressure, reduces stress, there is improved mood, there is emotional balance, there is digestive regulation, there is an immune boost, provides comfort and security, and promotes an overall well-being and a positive energy. I somehow feel I gave something as some funny, I feel. He gave and I gave it back, correct? So that there's nothing like I or ego in that. So that is how it should be. So with that, I'm almost at the end of this presentation today. So this is how I lead by example. For that awesome opportunity, and for people who want to contact me, my number is 9840176088. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Dr. Shankaran, and I'm ready for the questions. I'll just stop the screen share because I've seen a question here, so I will be there to answer the question. Give me a second. So I have a question here from Leela, which says, what about listening to music? Does it ease the stress? The answer is a yes. And I guess I spoke a lot about the music and listening to music itself. Forget if you want to even dance for the music, you will also have it a kind of a form of an exercise, and it will also help in making you feel very nice about yourself. So this is very important when you learn to listen to music. And I'm sure most of us, if you ask me, probably I'm not very comfortable listening to the music of the 2020s or 2010s. I'm more comfortable of listening to music of 1980s or something, because that is the time when I was growing up and I was very well connected with music. And music itself is a very broad language. There is something called music therapy. And this is very important, because when we talk about music therapy, we talk about ragas, we talk about classical music, which is it could be in terms of Hindustani, it could be in terms of Carnatic as we know it in South India, and it could be any Western music also. They all have healing effects, because these ragas, there are certain ragas you sing in the morning, some in the evening, and there are some ragas for rain. And it is all proven theory, and there is a lot of research going on. And if you look at music in another form, since Leela, your question was not very particular, I'm just answering. So when you when you go to some kind of chronic diseases like cancer or any other chronic diseases where people can't get out of their that hospital setup, they have something like musicians going and playing within the hospital setup, and they kind of elevate the patient's mood and make them feel happy. And I'm not sure if you know about this story of Saldana, who is prima ballerina, and I think in the WhatsApp it just went on as a viral one. Here is a lady who's in her 70s, and she has Alzheimer's, and she's forgotten everything about herself. And through music, this woman, she's on the wheelchair, okay, and they found out that she was a ballerina, and they put the song of that swan, that is the song she was dancing for, and suddenly her hands started moving, and she started started dancing. She's still on the wheelchair and she starts dancing, and it has a kind of a rebound memory. It's a long-term memory. Music has a long-term memory. So she was able to remember what she had done when she was 16 and 17 and things like that, and that is something very impeccable. So music therapy, I can go on. There is so much of influence of music therapy. Even there is pet therapy. I mean, all of you are veterinary in the veterinary science. For me, my dogs are my de-stressor. If I just go next to them and the way they lick my feet and the way they play with me, my day is made. I mean, within that first 5 minutes, everything about my day is just gone off. So, pet therapy, music therapy, art therapy, they can be separate lectures by itself. And for people who really work through it, it makes a great kind of a difference. So that is very important. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for answering. Thank you. Any other questions also? I am open to answer. Just let me know if you want any other questions.
Dr. Vidya, I have been telling about two kinds of stress. One is a good stress, the other one is a bad stress. Now all of us are going through the bad stress because of this COVID-19 pandemic, right? So how do you advise? Probably I would say that maybe 10 to 15% may be taken as a good stress and 85% as a bad stress. So how do you advise the people who are undergoing this bad stress to move a little bit towards the good stress?
First thing, if you ask, is like I gave you all the 20 strategies. If a person personally had come to me and said that, I'm feeling very stressed, the first thing I would ask them to do is write it down. What is it that is stressing you? Write it down. And then let's work collectively towards this in a positive way. See, let's take an exam coming up, just for an example. Now, if a student has not studied for the entire year and they have only 1 or 2 weeks to study for the exam, obviously this is going to be a very stressful condition. So imagine if that is the stress. I would say, let's break down. How many subjects do you have? We have 5 subjects. We have 15 days. That means 3 days per subject. Each subject, how many chapters you have? 25 chapters. So 1 day, 5 chapters has to be done. So we have to break down. You can't eat the whole cake all at once. You will have to make it into small parts and then do it. So any complex situation is nothing but a combination of simple problems all put together. So when you break down that, it becomes easy. So this is a very easy way of working out on our, whatever issues we have. So whether it is stress, we say, fight or flight. Fight means you're moving head on. Flight means you're running away from the situation. I am sure we are all born as winners. Each of us, we are all born as winners. If you look at the evolution of man, we had, 1,000 sperms and 1 egg, and 1 sperm impregnates the egg, and that's how we were born, right? So imagine we are a winner from day 1 of our existence. Now, what is stopping us today? It is only that we have lost our childlike enthusiasm. I remember giving this example before. I'm going to give the same example here. So let's look at a child who's learning to walk. So the first few steps, they will fall down. 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, they will fall down. But they don't give up, right? They try till they succeed. So here the trying is to do it. You need to do it. Don't analyze too much. Just do the job. Next, if you see the child, you stop, like a child is running up to you. You try stopping the child. I'm sure all of us play with children like that, right? So the child is coming, running to you. You are acting like a wall and you're not letting the child pass through you. You move to the right, the child will move to the right. You move to the left, the child will move to. Then the child will walk through between your feet and go away. because the child wants to win. It's very focused. We were the same child few years back. The problem is we have lost that enthusiasm. So that is why when they speak about enthusiasm, they speak about childlike enthusiasm. Each of us need to feel motivated from within to do that and have that childlike enthusiasm. So whether it is a good stress or a bad stress, if I look at stress in a central point, I feel you can use your stress to your advantage. Write down, address the stress, and figure out a way. If you're not able to figure out, you have people like me, and you can take down my number. My number is 98401 76088. I repeat, 98401 76088. So what I would say is you can use this stress to your benefit and make it work for you. You can push the same stress to help you get out of your comfort zone so that you can be a better version of yourself. And see, there is no two ways about it. All of us have to push ourselves. If I tell all of you that I was not a person who used to speak much, would you, anybody agree with me on this group? I guess the answer would be no. But till my 12th standard, or even I can say till I finished my college, I never took up any post or anything like that. No, not even one single post. But today I can say I am the youngest president of Indian Dental Association and all that stuff. But I had not taken up any post at all. So how did I evolve? It is like I used those stress into a positive way so that I could become a better version of myself. So that is where it is. There is another person called Kritika who's asked, "Ma'am, can you give some advice to cope with losses, both financial or death during pandemic? How actually people should have their temperament towards physical losses?" Kritika, as your name sounds, I hope you're a Hindu. And if you go through Bhagavad Gita or any religious book, okay, we have something called a physical being called our body, and then we have something called the soul. Body is perishable, soul is not perishable. Okay, so we just go from one soul into another soul. The journey continues. Okay, I look at it in a different angle. I look at it from an angle of imagine a person is not well, and this I'm talking out of my personal experience. I lost my husband 6 years back. Was it easy for me? I don't think so. I was very young that time. But I guess at that point of time, when I was given a crossroad kind of decision making, here is a man I love, and here is a man I'm going to lose. Did I give birth to him? No. So at that point of time, his father was alive, his mother was not there. So I went up to my father-in-law, and both of us had to take a decision. We had to take the ventilator and all those gadgets, medical gadgets, off my husband. And who's going to be the loser? It's me. Life goes on for the rest of the world. But for me, I am going to be the loser. But did I take a decision? I did. I said, I looked at my husband and I looked at how he was suffering. To alleviate the suffering or to get him rid of the suffering and move on to a better world of no pain and suffering, sometimes you need to learn the art of letting go. So these decisions in life, I am not telling you, Kritika, out of some medical textbooks or the kind of psychological knowledge I have or the education background I have as a psychologist. But I would tell you these things, whether it is finance or death, I have gone through all of them. So, I can tell you life goes on. And it is how you handle those stress and how you overcome them and become victorious. That is the essence of life. Because you can give up, or you can choose to rise one more time. And I decided to rise. So I would tell you, whether it is death. Now, death can be something which happens, like accidents can happen. Things like that, which you have no control. Or which, like I told, in case of my husband, we had to write and give because the doctor said he's sinking. There was nothing else they could do. He was dying. And the moment we wrote and gave, they pulled out, that's it. Life was over. So I think we need to have, and my father-in-law said, I can't look at all this. He moved away. The doctors told me, Vidya, I want you to move away from this scene. I don't want you to see or witness all this. This is going to give you nightmares. I want to, protect you and things like that. The doctor told me. I said, no, doctor. I promised him that I would stay with him through thick and thin. And I said, I will be there till the end. And I was there. They pulled it out. I saw it with my eyes. I saw all things which was happening. So I think, God gives you strength, and this strength is, it is an internal strength to withstand things. And people will believe only when you live by example. As I told you, you need to lead by example. You need to live by example. You can't preach. Anybody can come and give you a same kind of a 1 hour lecture on psychological stress and de-stressing. Go to Google, pick out some slides, you can put it. But have they gone through any life situations and have they overcome that? I think that is important, right? So those questions are beautiful questions, Kritika. Thank you so much. And I feel like, it is absolutely possible. And whether you talk about finance, see, let us look at all the movies. Okay, let's take this movie called Shivaji. I'm sure you all would have seen. And Rajni is omnipresent, right? Today, there are lots of Rajni jokes itself. Like, Rajni took vaccination and COVID died. Something like that and all, right? So, in that movie of Shivaji, Rajni had just that one coin. Am I right or wrong? And that is how the interval happened. It was not the end of the movie. At the end of the interval, he flips a coin and that's it, interval. So for a 3-hour movie, you need the twists and twirls of masala. You call song, you want dance, you want drama, you want, a kind of, what do I say, some kind of sadness and happiness, jokes, all that. What happens in the end of this movie? Money is flooding from everywhere, right? So when you feel anything wrong has happened to your life, I will say, I don't know how many of you know Hindi, but I would say, picture abhi baki hai dosto, abhi bas interval hua hai. So this is just interval. You have the rest of your movie to go on. And you are the script for your movie. You are the script writer. And how would you want to tell your story? ஏன் சோக கதையாவா சொல்லணும்? இல்ல என்னோட வெற்றி கதையாவா சொல்லணும்? Decision is yours, right? I would like to tell my story the way it is like victorious. So that is the way you need to answer, right? So I hope I answered your question, Kritika.
She has also put, thank you so much for answering, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Kritika. Thank you so much. Any other questions you can ask me?
I think with your presentation, you made them to understand the various kinds of stress and how to overcome those kinds of stress. And you yourself has shown your own life as an example for some of the students sitting here and watching. I think it was tell me.
I think the truth cannot be hidden. There is always a truth which needs to be said, and the truth is something which does not change with times. Opinions can change, but facts will never change. So I personally feel you need to take facts into account. So that is most important. There's another question from Sendil Kumar. Dr. Sendil Kumar, he says, any relation between COVID-19 treatment or suffering and suicidal thoughts? Yes, please. I showed you the slide in the beginning itself that COVID-19, the third wave, for a person who has recovered from COVID-19, they are also going through these kind of suicidal thoughts. I'll give you one example. See, there's a friend of mine who had COVID, and he was hospitalized. Okay, and he has only one daughter, and he had gone to the hospital for over 20-21 days. They were in the hospital, and then he got discharged and he has come home. Now the wife and the daughter is in one room and he is in another room because home quarantine and then thing. Still his daughter does not want to go to the father, and they were inseparable. They used to hug and sleep every single day. Child is only about 7-8 years old. She's scared to go to the father. This itself has caused a kind of stress in the father. So he is like, how do I hug my child? Will my child get it? Now they are talking about the second or the third wave. So he does not want to transmit. She is scared. Lot of chaos. So all this, the answer would be counseling, reassurance that all is well, God is great, and let's not take it too personal. We need to learn the art of impersonalization, which means you take it as fact. I had COVID, I have recovered, my COVID score has become negative, and I'm fine right now. Now it's my duty to understand the disease better and be more empathetical towards others and give a kind of confidence to people. You had COVID, you're going through COVID, don't worry. I have recovered. Now, if he turns this into a blessing in giving hope or installing hope into people's life, his life itself will become a blessing. Rather than he getting into a kind of a suicidal thoughts or anything. So, as a counselor, that's what I said. The same situation, it is how I can take it as a eustress or a distress. So the same situation, I can change the way I think. And if you have listened to this proverb, it says it always happens twice in life. Once in your mind and then in reality. Let's take, for example, a picnic which you wanted to go as a child. Imagine you want to go to, say, Kodaikanal. And you're so excited. You've packed your bags, you've taken everything. And next day morning you are leaving. And your parents have told you that you have to get up at 5 o'clock. Now you tell me, how many of you waited for the alarm clock to strike 5, got up? How many of your parents came, woke you, shook you and got up? Or you are the first to get up and get ready and be waking your parents? I'm sure if there was an exam the next day, you would have told your mother, wake up. Correct? And you would not get up also. But if it is for a trip or something, the third would be true. You would have got up even before the alarm clock. So why? It's because constantly you're thinking, oh, if I go to Kodaikanal, this is the kind of climate I will have. This is the way I'm going to enjoy. I have taken my new clothes. I'm going to wear them. I'm going to click pictures. I'm going to have a fun time. I'm going to eat good food. All these things, emotions will always take you forward, right? That is why you need to definitely replace your thoughts. I gave you an example of imaginary meditation, right? Or guided meditation, where you imagine, where you take your old photographs, you relive those moments and be happy. It's very important. And all of us need to do that. Don't think we don't go through stress or anything. When I listen to 4 or 5 phone calls, or I do 4 or 5 counselings in a day, I need a super dose. my battery gets drained. So, I need to have a super dose. So I follow all these. I get into art, I told you, it's all of us are human. We all have to do this. There is no shortcut. Everything is the same, right? And some people know how to handle it, some people don't. That is the only difference. I hope I answered your question, Dr. Sen.
Thank you, madam.
John sir, over to you, sir.
Yeah, that was a wonderful lecture, ma'am.
Thank you so much, John sir. I think, it's so nice to see you smile and listen to the answers. I could see you nodding and I could see your reactions when I was talking about prayer also. I could see the way your face was interacting. Thank you so much.
Because I must compliment you for the excellent lecture. See, as you rightly pointed out, preaching is the easiest thing in life. You can always advise to many people, but practicing it is the most difficult one. I was really moved when you put your personal situation and then I must compliment. I don't find any suitable words. And your lecture was really inspirational and moving to all of us. And I hope the students and faculty are highly benefited by your lecture.
Thank you so much, John sir.
It was really a wonderful lecture. I mean it. Because you are not only preached, you have practiced it. So, because we really do not know how many people are in a situation like what you were once. They may be in some difficult situation also. Kind of a real-time example. They see you, and I'm sure your words will be really motivating to them. And I must compliment you. And I will say that one of the best lectures IDP has arranged.
Oh, this is an honor. Thank you so much.
I mean it, ma'am. I mean it. Every word I mean it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those kind words, John sir. I mean, this is very precious because when I prepare a lecture, it takes me at least 20 hours to make a presentation. I'll be very honest with you. It takes 20 human hours for me to prepare a lecture, which means I'm sitting thinking about in whatever angles I can. And it is my endeavor to give a part of myself. But the questions which come are not in my control. But when I think about the answers which I have to give, I think it has to not come from my brain, it has to come from my heart. So I think, and we can never fake it, right?
Yeah.
Life happens, and it is how you face challenges. And here it is about your mental makeup. So my friends say that because I was always like this, I was able to handle my life better, and that is very important. So all of us will go through some crisis in life, but I will always say, if there is a sad moment or a low moment in your life, think it is a bend, it is not the end.
Yes. I think everybody will leave the lecture with the definite carry home message. So we must thank you and compliment you for the wonderful lecture. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Vidya, we have Dr. Selvaraj, who is also an co-PI from Veterinary College at Namakkal.
Okay.
So let us hear from Dr. Selvaraj, because a lot of faculty and students also joined from Namakkal. Over to Dr. Selvaraj. Unmute pannunga sir. He is a physiology man.
Okay.
Yes. Good evening, Shankaran. Good evening, madam. Good evening, sir. And my faculty. Really wonderful lecture. One compliment and one request from my faculty was, Shankaran, it has to be uploaded to IDP. They wanted to see again tomorrow.
It will be done, sir.
Sure, we will do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Madam agrees, we will do it.
Yes. There were 4 requests, sir, from ladies faculty member.
Okay.
I also promised them that it will be available tomorrow.
Okay, it will be uploaded, sir.
IDP website.
Okay.
We are recording it, we will upload it, sure.
Yes, sir. And the madam lecture was really wonderful, sir. I happened to be with my psychiatrist, my wife. I used to get to many things like this. Really, really very much vast experience, sir. So it is not like Madam has said ordinary lecture. It has to be prepared for long hours. And also she said something from heart. Definitely, we have to appreciate. Thank you, sir. Thank you for organizing. Thank you, madam, for the wonderful lecture.
Thank you,
you,
Dr. Selvaraj. Really, these words mean a lot. You both have made my day. I guess, it's so pleasurable because each lecture is so unique, and I feel doing it on International Yoga Day and talking about wellness, and it's not just another lecture. I think it was so thought for, and everything fell into place because it was not planned for today. It was planned 1 month earlier, but this was God's plan. So, I always say, even in terms of crisis, the right time, the right day, you will all be blessed. But are you ready to wait to receive the blessings? So today we waited, and I think I was patient, Dr. Shankaran was patient, and it just fell into place. Even if I can, with the permission of Dr. Shankaran, he had sent me a mail in which it was written 24th and 29th. I think he's there, so he'll agree with what I'm saying. And even I signed the document saying it is 24th, 29th, but he had verbally told me 21st and 24th. And then he said, no, Vidya, it's just 21st only. So I can tell you, all this is God's plan. Today it was destined to happen. We did not know, but God, the Heavenly Father, He knew it. And this is so, ஒரு தமிழ்ல சொல்லுவாங்க, ரொம்ப அமைஞ்சு வந்திருக்கு அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல. சோ அந்த அமைப்பா வந்ததுக்கு கடவுளுக்கு தான் கோடி கோடி நன்றி சொல்லணும். Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
ஆமா மேடம், 1.5 மணி நேரம் பேசியிருக்கீங்க. ஆனா அந்த ஃபேஸ் வந்து அப்படியே பிரைட்டா இருக்கு.
யுவராஜ், அதுக்கு அவங்க அதுல ஒரு டாபிக்ல பேசணும்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. How to keep yourself like this.
இருக்கப்பா, எப்படி பிரசன்ட் பண்ணனும் பசங்களுக்கு, ஸ்டைல், ஸ்பீக்கிங் எல்லாம் சொல்லிருக்கேன் ஒரு லெக்சர்.
She is coming for 1 week program for our students. நம்ம next set of programs.
Certainly we are arranging.
நாமக்கல்லுக்கு 1 week கொடு.
Yes.
It's a joint program. They can also participate.
இல்லைங்க சார், இது வரலாம் எத்தனை லெக்சர் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம் சார். யாருமே எங்களுக்கு திருப்பி ரெக்கார்ட் வேணும்னு கேட்டதே இல்லை என்கிட்ட. இன்னைக்கு தான் 4 பேர் கேட்டிருக்காங்க.
Oh, very good.
Morning we'll upload it. Sure.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. I think the session went more than 1 hour 45 minutes now. So as Dr. said, no, you can talk for another 1 more hour also. I know that, but considering the time factor for every other person present here, I thank you on behalf of IDP of Tanvas. And I need not tell you anything, like, because Dr. Chansar already has told everything about the lecture, and Dr. Selvaraj also added value to that points. So I'm very, very happy to have you here today with us. I'm sure that most of the students and the faculty who have been here part of this program would have benefited, and they will try to inculcate some of the methods that you have given to overcome stress. So let us all meet again on 24th June between 4 and 5 p.m. on how to help society happy during this COVID-19 pandemic. So that's going to be a different topic, how to keep ourselves happy during this pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shankaran, for your friendship, for this invitation, and for all those kind words. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnson.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Selvaraj sir. Thank you.